Why do we think about the economy? The answer is simple. It is about our lives. It is about the food we eat and the homes we live in. It is about the jobs we do and the things we buy. Understanding how people have thought about these things helps us understand our own world. Economic ideas are not just for experts in tall buildings. They are powerful tools that shape how we all live together. For thousands of years, people have tried to figure out the best way to manage their resources. This long story of economic thought is a journey that shows us how our societies have grown and changed over time, revealing the deeply human quest for a better, more prosperous life for everyone. Long ago, there were no coins or paper money. People used a system called barter. A farmer with extra wheat might trade it for a pair of shoes from a shoemaker. This was the first kind of economy. It was simple and direct. You exchanged something you had for something you needed. But barter had its problems. What if the shoemaker did not need any wheat? The farmer would have to find someone else to trade with. This could take a lot of time and effort. It was hard to agree on the value of different goods. How many loaves of bread is one cow worth? These challenges pushed people to find a better way. This need for a better system led to the invention of money. At first, people used things like shells, beads, or salt as a common form of payment. These items were valuable to many people, making trade much easier. Later, metals like gold and silver were used. They were durable and easy to carry. This was a huge step forward. Money allowed for more complex trade over longer distances. It helped cities grow and societies to become more organized. The idea of money was a powerful economic invention. It allowed people to save their wealth and plan for the future in a way they never could before, setting the stage for more complex economic systems. As societies grew, so did their economic ideas. Philosophers in ancient Greece, like Aristotle, started to think about these topics more formally. He wrote about the difference between producing things for use and producing them just to make a profit. He thought about what made something valuable. He also considered the role of households in managing their resources, which is where the word economics comes from. These early thoughts were not about complex markets like we have today, but they were the very first seeds of economic thinking. They started a long conversation about fairness, value, and how people should organize their working lives. For many centuries, economic thought was tied to religion and morality. Then, in the 18th century, a Scottish philosopher named Adam Smith changed everything. He wrote a very important book called The Wealth of Nations. Smith lived during a time of great change, the Industrial Revolution. He saw new factories and growing cities. He wanted to understand what made some countries rich while others remained poor. His big idea was about self-interest. He said that when people work for their own benefit, they often end up helping everyone else. A baker does not bake bread out of kindness, but to earn money. Yet, by doing so, he provides bread for the whole town. Smith's most famous idea is the invisible hand. He believed that markets worked best when they were left alone. If the government did not interfere too much, an invisible hand would guide the economy. This hand is not a real hand, of course. It is the force of competition and self-interest working together. If many people are selling bread, they must keep their prices low and their quality high to attract customers. This process naturally leads to good products at fair prices, all without a king or a government official telling people what to do. This was a revolutionary idea that suggested freedom in the market could lead to prosperity for all. This concept is known as laissez-faire economics, a French phrase meaning let it be. Smith argued that a country's wealth was not the amount of gold it had, but the total of all the goods and services its people produced. This is what we now call gross domestic product, or GDP. To increase this wealth, he promoted the idea of the division of labor. He gave an example of a pin factory. If one person tried to make a whole pin by themselves, they might only make one a day. But if the work was divided into small, simple tasks, a team of workers could make thousands of pins. This specialization made workers much more productive and the nation richer. Adam Smith's ideas had a huge impact. They became the foundation of classical economics and capitalism. Governments in Britain and America started to adopt more free market policies. They reduced their control over trade and industry. This led to a period of incredible economic growth and innovation. Many people became much wealthier than ever before. However, this new industrial world also created new problems. Factory workers often faced terrible conditions, long hours, and low pay. While some people became very rich, many others were left in poverty. This great inequality would soon inspire a very different kind of economic thinker to challenge Smith's ideas. As the factories of the Industrial Revolution grew larger, so did the problems. In the 19th century, a German thinker named Karl Marx looked at this new capitalist world and saw deep injustice. He saw a society divided into two main classes. There were the capitalists, or the bourgeoisie, who owned the factories, machines, and land. And there were the workers, or the proletariat, who owned nothing but their ability to work. Marx believed this system was fundamentally unfair. He argued that the capitalists were getting rich by exploiting the workers. They paid the workers just enough to survive, but kept the huge profits for themselves. Marx wrote his ideas in books like The Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. He believed that history was a story of class struggle. In every era, one group controlled the means of production and exploited another. He predicted that the conflict between the capitalists and the workers would only get worse. As capitalists competed with each other, they would push wages down and make working conditions more miserable. Eventually, he believed the workers would become so desperate that they would rise up in a revolution. They would overthrow the capitalist system and create a new classless society. In this new society, which he called communism, there would be no private property. The factories, farms, and all means of production would be owned by everyone together. People would work according to their abilities and receive things according to their needs. There would be no more exploitation because no one would be working to make someone else rich. The goal was to create a world of perfect equality and cooperation. Marx's vision was a powerful one. It offered hope to the millions of poor and powerless workers who felt trapped by the industrial system. It was a direct challenge to the free market ideas of Adam Smith. Marx's ideas shook the world. They inspired revolutions in countries like Russia and China in the 20th century. These nations tried to build communist economies based on his theories. They took control of all industries and planned their economies from the center. This was the opposite of Smith's laissez-faire approach. For much of the 20th century, the world was divided between these two powerful economic ideas, capitalism and communism. This conflict, known as the Cold War, shaped international politics for decades. While many of these communist experiments ultimately failed, Marx's critique of capitalism continues to influence how we think about inequality and economic justice today. The 20th century brought new economic crises that neither Smith nor Marx had fully predicted. The Great Depression of the 1930s was a huge shock. Millions of people lost their jobs, and economies around the world collapsed. According to classical economics, this should not have happened. Markets were supposed to correct themselves. A new thinker, John Maynard Keynes, offered an explanation. He argued that sometimes the invisible hand could fail. He said that during a downturn, people and businesses become fearful. They stop spending money, which makes the economy even worse. It was a vicious cycle that could not fix itself. Keynes proposed a bold solution. He said that when the economy is weak, the government must step in. It should spend money to create jobs and boost demand. Even if it meant going into debt, the government's spending could restart the economic engine. This idea, known as Keynesian economics, was revolutionary. It gave governments a new role to play in managing the economy. After World War II, many Western countries used Keynes's ideas to manage their economies, leading to a long period of stability and growth. The debate between Keynesian intervention and free market principles continues to be a central theme in modern economics. In recent decades, economists have developed even more sophisticated tools. They use complex mathematics and powerful computers to create models of the economy. This allows them to test ideas and make predictions. A very important field is behavioral economics. Thinkers like Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky showed that people do not always act like the perfectly rational beings described in older theories. We are influenced by our emotions, biases, and the way choices are presented to us. This insight helps us understand why people sometimes make decisions that are not in their best financial interest, like not saving enough for retirement or getting into too much debt. Today, the story of economic thought is still being written. We face new, complex challenges like climate change, globalization, and the rise of artificial intelligence. Economists are working to understand how these forces will shape our world and how we can best respond. Learning the history of economic ideas is more important than ever. It shows us that there is no single, perfect answer to our economic problems. From the simple barter of ancient times to the complex models of today, our economic thinking continues to evolve. This journey through time teaches us to be humble, to question old assumptions, and to keep searching for better ways to create a fair and prosperous world for everyone. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe so we can continue making more videos.